What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. On today's video, we're going to be installing gauges, speed density, and blow-off valve on my STI, getting ready for the dyno tune next week with Mikey Body. So I'm here with JC at WRXperts, who's going to be helping us with the install today. Also, quick shout out to Nippon Power. They are the ones who provided us with the parts. Awesome prices, have a lot in stock. Make sure to check them out. Link to the website in the description. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get this started.
Alright guys, we're going to start off by taking off the intercooler piping so we can go drop it off to the welder and put a tile flange on it. Cobb unfortunately doesn't give the option for it, so we're going to have to cut it and swap it out. On today's episode of JJ Avoiding Power Mods, we're doing gauges, guys.
Gauges.
We're done.
That's it, guys. Tune in next time for the dyno.
It'd be like a Dragon Ball Z episode, right? That's it. Next episode. So this is the tile blow-off valve adapter. We're gonna be cutting the stock adapter and putting the tile one in this place right here. So we're gonna go drop this off to the welder and it should be done a little bit later. Now that we dropped off our intercooler pipe to get welded, we're gonna get started on an SMY dual gauge pod. Let me set this to the side. And to take off the stock piece, on the bottom of the steering wheel, pull the latch down and just move it forward and down to get out of your way. There's gonna be two little Phillips bolts going upwards. Let me get the second one. Once you get those out, just set them to the side. And then you're just gonna wanna tug on the bottom. Okay. Tug on the other side.
We got you doing this, right?
Yes.
Good at tugging.
There you go. Stock pieces out.
All right, so we went ahead and took off the flange that was there, and now we're gonna have this one welded on right there.
All right, so we have our SMY dual gauge pod. I'm just gonna demonstrate what it would look like once we're finished. So we're gonna grab our gauges. We have our AEM air fuel ratio gauge, and then we have our AEM oil pressure gauge. So if you look at the cluster, there's two rubber bands right above the pods. So you wanna remove them and put them onto the gauge. This is what's gonna hold it nice and snug inside the pod. And just wiggle it in. It'll be nice and snug. Same thing for the other side. So it does not matter which gauge goes on which side, it's completely preference. But I think JJ told me he wanted the air fuel on the right. Yeah. So we'll switch that up later, but this is just to demonstrate. So once you have your gauge cluster, you're gonna go ahead and just slide into place. Start off with the bottom. You gotta feel the clips out, and then you're just gonna push, and then you're gonna reinstall your two Phillips screws. All right, now I'm gonna get started with the wiring and just show you how I would wire it. All right, so I'm gonna start with the routing of the O2 sensor. So to route the O2 sensor, you're gonna need to put into the bung onto your downpipe. If your downpipe does not have it, AEM includes one. You'd have to go to welding shops to have it welded on for you so you can install your O2 sensor. Fortunately, JJ's downpipe already has one. We just have to remove the cap so that we can install the real O2 sensor. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that. Here's the cap for the real O2. So now I can go ahead and install this O2 sensor. It is a tight fit. You have the AC lines in the way. All right, now we just finished installing our O2 sensor onto our downpipe. Now you want to start routing your connection. I would go up against the firewall, and you can either route it all the way over here and just tie it up in this section, because we're going to go through this grommet on the firewall. Or again, whatever you choose, scrunch it up, zip tie it, and leave it here, and the connection will come against the firewall. I like to route my wires through this grommet right here on the firewall. So what you want to do is just either with your hand, you could try and pry it out, or grab a flathead if it's easier. I'm struggling with this, so I'm going to grab a flathead. And just make sure you don't lose it like I just did.
So you're going to poke a hole with a flathead screwdriver?
Alright, so once you have taken the grommet out and you made your hole, it's you're gonna want a second person to do this. If you get a grabber to push through, and then either tape around, or you could actually just use the grabber and grab the wire and fish it through. And I'll try to show you where you're gonna put the grabber through on the inside of the car. So if you demonstrate, it's gonna be like right above the gas pedal. Now we're just gonna, you know, tuck it somewhere, make it look nice. We're
Sexy tuck, right?
Sexy tuck, yes, one sexy tuck. We're gonna fish most of it through there. We'll wrap it up and hide it under your dash.
All right, so there's a zip tie right there to hold it in place, and another one right over here.
And then I left a little bit of slack going onto the O2 sensor for movement, so it doesn't get tugged on. So we got our intercooler piping back with our flange welded on. JJ was showing some before and afters. It was silver, so we just hit it up with some wrinkle black paint so it'd match our pipe. So we go ahead and put our wastegate on, our blow-off valve on. It looks. So we got a towel, and here's our clamp. You're gonna want to open it up a little bit. It's fine; it'll seal back up once you bolt it down. Make sure you get your gasket.
Myself, but which size threaded?
That's it.
All right.
Once you manage to finesse the blow-off valve onto the pipe, you want to get the top nipple and thread it on. Make sure that you have the seal, one on top and one on bottom. It's going to be a 10, just tighten it down. But we're going to wait so we could face it the right direction. Alright, now on our backside of intercooler pipe, we're going to take off this cap so we can install our IET sensor. If you do not have a bung already for it on your intercooler pipe, when you buy the sensor from AEM, they also provide the bung, which you have to go have it installed by a welder. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and install our IAT. As you can see, it already has a paste on it, so don't worry about putting anything on it. Turn it up. This one's going to be a 19, and just snug it up. You don't have to go ham on it. Alright, once you figured out which direction you want to point it, go ahead and tighten it up with a 10. Put your vacuum line on, and you want to zip tie it. Alright, now that we installed our IET, we're going to route our Visconti tuning harness. So this is so you don't have to splice up and make your own. It's going to connect here, and it's going to connect to your MAF engine harness. So we're going to have to remove the cover for his Cobb intake box to access it, and then we're going to route it all nice and do a sexy tuck to reach it. Alright, now that we uncovered the intake box, you're going to want to go ahead and unclip the MAF harness and install the Visconti harness. Routing it here. And then we can go ahead and put our intake box cover back on, and then we can go proceed to routing our harness. Alright, so I routed the harness down this way alongside the main engine harness. Over here, under the throttle body, and then to our sensor. You can route it however you like. This is just the way I chose to do it. Alright, so we went ahead and fished the oil pressure harness through the same hole. As you see it, now we have this end that we're gonna route to under the alternator. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the alternator to expose it, add the sensor, and route this harness to it. Alright, since I'm gonna be taking off the alternator, I'm gonna go ahead and take off the positive terminal for the battery. Just loosen it up. Make sure when you're doing this, you don't touch the negative side. It's not that bad boy up and just put it to the side. Make sure it's not touching. All right, I'm sorry about taking this cover off. It's a 10. Just tug on this side. Next, I'm going to go ahead and take off this 12 going to the alternator. There's a washer here. Just put it back. And then take off this connection. Yeah, it's going bad. All right, now we're going to go ahead and remove the alternator. So there's a 12 right here. Just loosen it up. Then you have the 12 right here. I'm going to loosen it up as well. Now, it's a tension adjustment. Kind of just loosen it up. Now you should be able to take the belt off. Set it to the side. Now just remove this 12. There you go. And now you can pull the alternator out. Just wiggle her out. This is our AEM oil pressure sensor, which we're going to be placing right here. So we're going to have to go and remove this connection and take this piece off. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. We're going to get a 24mm socket. Remove this. There's your sensor. And you're going to want to put it here. First, we're going to go ahead and put some Teflon paste on it. Alright, now that we have our Teflon on, we're going to go ahead and add the sensor. Alright, I got it started. Tighten it down with a 24. So this is where we routed our line. Just tuck it a little bit along our AC line into the firewall, and then we're going to push the rest inside. And we'll zip tie it here to secure it. Once you're done fishing the wires through the firewall, you're going to want to route them through here on this side and on this side. Yep. So we can start connecting to our gauges. So we get our cluster, run the wire through. Start connecting your wires to your gauges. There you go. Air fuel on the right side, just like you want it.
Yep.
You see this one's a 4-pin, so the 4-pin will be on the right, and the left is a 6-pin. And you kind of have these little guides. So put it in and just make sure that you lined it up correctly. So we have the other side, a 6-pin. Now we're going to want to pull on the wires, get our gauge in. So we're done with our air fuel gauge. Now for our oil pressure. This one is just one big connector. Just push your gauge in. Now we're going to get our 2 bolts to secure our cluster. Alright, now you're going to want to route the wires from your gauges right under the steering column to come out through here so we can wire up our gauges. You're going to go ahead and tuck away the blue and the white wire on both of them, as they're not going to be needed. This is only if you have like an AEM EMS ECU. So for this one, we're just going to do blacks, which is the negative, and red, which is power. Alright, now we're going to get to the wiring portion. So you're going to want to get one of these. It's called, it's like an add a fuse or fuse tap. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the 2 power ends. You can just put them together, put them in here. We're going to crimp it, and then for power, what we're going to do is, if you see, we're going to tap into the accessory. So 3rd one from the last on the bottom row. gonna pull the fuse. Just put the fuse there. And you want to get a second fuse with the same amount, which is 7.5. Now we're gonna put our wire in and crimp it, and then we're gonna connect it. Crimp our power wire there, and then you can connect it back to the accessory slot that you took the other one out from. Since we're not using these, what I like to do is usually I'll just tuck them right back in. Get them out the way, or you could just get some electrical tape. We're gonna connect our negatives to an eyelet, and we're gonna crimp it down. All right, so we're gonna put our black wires into an eyelet, crimp it down. After that, if you get in here and look to the left of your fuse box, there's a little 10mm bolt, right? And then you're gonna wanna put 10mm here, put the eyelet there, and this would be your ground. Then you're gonna get your added fuse and you're gonna plug it back into the accessory. We're gonna reinstall our alternator. And then grab your bolt, slide it through, put it on the back side, just start it. We're gonna grab your bolt for the tensioner. Snug it up, and now we can put our belt back on. And we're gonna want to tighten up our tensioner, so we can tighten up the belt. There you go. Once it's done, you want to tighten up this 12 and this 12. We can reconnect our harness. Last, we're gonna put our cover back on. Now we can reinstall our battery terminal. And we should definitely clean up your battery. Try to grab as much as we can. All right, now guys, we're pretty much done. So we haven't tucked away all the excess harness yet. We want to go ahead and turn the vehicle on and make sure our gauges work. Once we confirm they work, then we're gonna go ahead and tuck away all the harnesses. We have power. We have our oil pressure, and we have our air fuel. All right guys, now that we confirmed that our gauges work, we're gonna go ahead and just tuck all the excess wires away, and you're pretty much done with today's install. And don't forget to get tuned if you do go speed density. It's not something you can just plug in and connect and it'll work automatically. You have to speak to your tuner about it.
Well guys, that's the end of the install. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, make sure to hit that like button. Also, give us some ideas of other install videos or videos in general that you would like to see in the comment section. Once again, shout out to WRXperts and Nippon Power. Make sure to check out their socials. Well, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks.